In tonight's episode, the role of Tin Man will be played by Tiffy. Hello, and welcome back to Depth Perception. We discuss movies and dive into how films direct the way we experience them. We create a perception of sound, a perception of sight, with a dimension of mind. Mm-hmm. We move into a land of both shadow and substance, of themes and ideas. This is Mr. Vozly. I got KMax here.
Man, always good to be back.
And a surprise, we've got Tiffy.
Hi.
Surprise, surprise.
So, loyal listeners of the podcast might recall us referencing this person named Tiffy throughout our memories of watching movies, and so we finally got her back on board here. So, Tiffy, in our very first episode, we did our 3 most influential movies to kind of break the ice and give a quick introduction to what we look for in movies. So pre-production, I asked you to come up with your 3 most influential movies. This will help us, it'll help the listeners figure out just who you are.
Oh, goodness.
You are.
So Tiffy, let's hear your 3 most influential movies.
Okay. Bear with me on this first one.
Never heard of it.
Armageddon.
Oh, okay.
We're starting strong.
It was the first movie that I remember watching as a family. Like, even our papa was there. So it was like Papa, my mom, my dad, and Noah and Jacob. Emily wasn't watching it. And I just, looking back, or knowing the movie now, how it's really not a great movie.
Doesn't matter.
But
Yeah, right.
we all cried. Literally all of us. We all enjoyed it. Emily refused to watch it for years just because she knew we all cried. I think my brothers hid because they were crying. But I just remember it was probably like one of the first times where it was, you know, it clicked that like movies can bring you together. And even though it wasn't, you know, so many plot holes and just overall not a great movie, I still enjoy watching it. And I still remember doing that with my family.
Nice.
I hate that that's more profound than anything Tin or I have ever said in 3 seasons.
Well, it must be those Henry genes. Oh, Tiffy's my cousin, by the way, if that wasn't clear.
She's a real one. Just FYI, too, to fill in what Voz hasn't. She's a real one. She gets it, folks. Just so you know, she needs no credibility. She gets it instant. That was a good answer. Good gravy.
Yeah. How do we go up from here?
We don't.
And then I think the second one I chose was Saving Private Ryan.
I expected that one.
Yes. I watched it for the first time in high school, and it just really catapulted my interest into World War II. And then I, watch pretty much any World War II movie that came out since then. And even I used to watch documentaries with my grandfather about World War II. So it just like really started my interest in that. So that's why I chose that as my number 2. And the girly side in me.
Okay.
Chose number 3. 2005, Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, okay. It wasn't as girly as I thought it was going to be.
No. It's not one of K-Max's movies.
It made me, want to get into reading. I don't like reading. But watching that movie made me want to read the books. And it's just, it was a different time back then. And I love, the typical Darcy hand flex scene. I loved it.
All right.
That's good stuff
That's
right
Tiffy.
there. So now we know what you like to watch, but tell us who you are.
So, I guess fate would have it that you're big into World War II, and then we watch Hacksaw Ridge, and I send out the text, see if you can join, and boom, here we are. So, this episode is brought to you by 2016's Hacksaw Ridge. directed by Mel Gibson. It is a retelling of the true story of Desmond Doss, an Army medic in World War II, and specifically his upbringing and impact during the Battle of Hacksaw Ridge, where he retrieved 75 wounded soldiers without firing a single weapon. This is our second movie in our war chapter, and the bookend movie to our third season as a whole. The next episode will be sort of a conclusion to all the chapters that we've discussed this season, and as a thank you, we will do a bonus movie episode randomly picked by one of our listeners. However, Hacksaw Ridge is the last movie in our set list of Season 3 viewings. So, let's get these talking points listed, and we're going to ask our newcomer to ring her first bell. Yes.
Bell is so good, too. Mm-hmm. What's your brother-in-law's name?
Kevin.
Kevin. Wonderful bell, Kevin.
Yeah. He said he looked for the best bell. I don't know how you go about finding a best bell.
You just ring the hell out of every bell that you can see and say, there's the best bell. That's the way I would do it. If I was bell shopping.
Belle. All right, so we'll talk about our initial reactions, our most important scenes to us personally. This phrase, infringement of coexistence. What do you identify most with in the movie? What do you do when your values are under attack? And that's a personal question. And then we ask, what does Desmond Doss do when his values are under attack? And this will kind of also work as our theme. And that's when you guys will actually come up with a scene from the movie that supports whatever you think that answer is. So, let's go with our initial reactions. Tiffy, I want to start with you. When did you first see this?
I saw it when it came out in theaters. Mm-hmm. I went with my family. We all loved it. We all cried. I bought it on DVD when it came out, and I think I watch it a couple times a year. Mm-hmm. It's weird. War movies are like my comfort movies.
It's cool.
But I just absolutely love this movie. Like, it's such a, heartwarming movie, and it's, the faith part of it. It's what I need if I'm questioning something. It's like I need to look towards him to, like, give me strength, I guess. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, his strength and seeing what he went through, it recharges me.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. That resolve, you're like, you see someone or a character or an item of resolve, and you're like, see, it is possible. There's all people out there fighting the fight.
This. Yeah.
Sticking it in the pocket.
KMax.
I enjoyed it. I saw it when it first came out also. I saw it in theaters. I remember seeing it with, I think that there was a long period of time I've been working at Wilson for like 25, 26 years. Nevins has been my right-hand man. I like to say that he's been my squire. He tells everybody I've been his squire. And it just depends what circle you're running in.
Co-squire.
Right. They don't lock in. Anyway, so we would make events of any movie that came out that we thought was going to be big and interesting. He knows that I'm a social studies guy, and so he was like, hey, I see one that we're going to see, so we'd make a day of it. And it's funny, my initial reaction was I enjoyed it very much, but I was a little uncomfortable at the non-traditional hero. Like someone who, if I'm watching a war movie, I want my guy to be Rambo, or I want someone to be good with a gun or heavy with the steel. You know what I mean? And this guy was the opposite of so many things. But the reason why I love the movie is because the payoffs were so yummy. I mean, this guy who was, they're pretty much trying to alienate him and character assassinate him before he had a chance to prove his worth. Proved his worth big time. And that's a nice payoff. So he laid his worth out there, and he was not found lacking.
So,
and Andrew Garfield, I enjoy him as an actor. He seems authentic. He seems believable.
He takes on, I think we discussed this before, but he takes a lot of faith-based roles, it seems like. And I don't know if there's anything more to that or not.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah.
I think off air, though. You and I talked about that.
Those nights kind of just mesh together. I don't know what we talk about,
Right,
what we
right.
record and don't record.
I know we were nude, so that's the best I can recall.
Face to face.
Tiffany just that Wile E. Coyote cutout you heard was Tiffany just leaving the room.
Well, I'll leave you two alone.
Finally. No, it's
We're like, anyway.
anyways.
Forget
Forget you heard any of that.
Please do.
So I didn't see this movie until maybe a month ago.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah. It's been sitting in my
Do you have
in
seen
my
it?
office. Yeah.
You own it.
I got the Steelbook Blu-ray of it. I knew it was going to be good, but I waited till now, I guess, to watch it. For me, it was a deeply moving movie for me, and I think much of that had to do with the timing. So over the past few months, we've been doing a lot of reflecting and exploring big emotions in this podcast. So a lot of times, we talk about like grief and isolation, stuff like that. And a lot of times I'm friends with both the guys that we record with here. So a lot of times that conversation spills over after recording, before recording, that, it gets pretty deep. And,
Yeah.
a couple of the mornings we talked till about 3, 4 in the morning after recording.
Yeah.
So even though I hadn't seen this movie, I knew its premise and was about 95% sure it was going to be a great movie to break down for our podcast. So the plan morphed a little bit, and I was between 3 movies to watch for this chapter, and I had to narrow it down to 2. So I figured I better watch this one to see if it, how it fits here. And as I watched it, there was no way I couldn't include this movie in this chapter. All of the things that we've been discussing for the past few months, and especially in our recent episodes on estrangement and war, obviously, this movie explored them, and I found several personal values and questions being explored as well. I wasn't prepared for the first half of the movie to take place like in a small town. Mm-hmm. Like you hear war movie, you see all the previews and everything, and it's like, okay, most of it's gonna be in the battlefield. We'll get a little theming as we go. But no, the first half of it sets up all of his values and his culture. So I'm glad that it did that, though. It took its time cementing the importance of Desmond's convictions. And I think I was actually more prepared for the war violence shown on screen than I was for the first half of the movie, right? So that's where I was. So I watched it then, and then I watched it again over the last, I started it yesterday, finished it today. So that'd be 2 full times watching it so far. But after the first time watching, I couldn't stop writing notes about it. Mm-hmm. So. That's crisp.
Yeah, it is.
So let's go through our most important scenes. Who wants to go first?
I'll fire one out there, and then we...
Yeah.
I think the just one more scene was kind of where the rubber meets the road. It was his faith in action, I guess you would say. It was the evidence of all the things that he held to. That's the thing about it, right? And we'll get into this more. I know I will. You can say whatever you want. You can talk the talk anytime you want. You can reject. You can stand up. You can protest. You can... When the rubber meets the road, it's what do you do? And this was the scene where he did what he said he was going to do. I can serve. I have a role to play. I don't need to do these traditional ways. I don't need to do what you expect of me. And I can still be a soldier, a useful soldier. And he was as useful a soldier as you could be in that scene. And so I thought, I called this just one more scene. Like, I'm not even sure that was a line, but he just kept going back and lowering another one and lowering another one. And it was like, they're all in like horrible shape, And I felt very similar to like Forrest Gump. That's why like Forrest Gump is always good to me too. One of my favorites because it had so many little payoffs, little snippets of payoffs when he's running for the woods back and forth with his awkward little limp too. It reminds you of who he was as a little boy, and you see the beauty. Here he comes again, with all his faults and all. He's still being heroic in his own way, in his own little universe. And I felt that about his character in the Just One More scene.
Yep. What do you got, Tiffy?
I have a bunch here, but before that one was one of mine. Like after Smitty, where you can see him start to question his faith, like, and then he even says, like, "I can't hear you," and he's like, and then next you know, you hear someone yell "medic," and it's like, and he just snaps right back into it.
Man, that's a really good. That's a good scene.
I like that because there's a couple moments like that where he kind of stops in his tracks a little bit and questions himself. When he was in the cell, he's like, "Have I been prideful?" And kind of thinks about it and is able to be pulled back again from those thoughts. I had two that I wanted to bring. The movie's full of important.
It was hard to narrow down.
So I went with one emotional and one storytelling for me personally. So I'll do you guys went emotional first, so I'll go emotional. It's Doss's conversation with Glover after Doss comes down from the ridge. When Glover pretty much says, like, I've never been more wrong about anyone in my life, and apologizing for everything and saying, like, they're not even going to fight again without you. So just that admission of that validation of Desmond's values and faith, that it grew on so many men, hundreds of men.
Boy.
I think that was the emotional edge right there for me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we should also be so authentic to inspire that kind of reaction from folks.
But it wasn't even just that Desmond, like, his values were supported. It was that you had a character that was willing to apologize and say, "That's my bad. You're a good guy." To be able to win over someone like that, and to allow yourself to be won over like that, I think still takes a lot of character to do.
Yeah, he didn't. I think it's important to note that he didn't convert. Like, he didn't say, "I see what you are, and I want that." I mean, the traditional way that I would try to be what I say that I am. It would be so that I can be a blessing, but also to draw people to my belief system, to draw people to the source of the strength that I'm trying to show that I have, right? That scene right there was great, and I might get picked on for this, but it was great in that it didn't have to show him have a come to Jesus moment type of thing.
Right.
It was him. It was great because he was able to say, "You have value," because your authenticity shone through in this moment. You have value, not, you know what I mean? Like, I thought that was cool. I like how you picked that scene.
Let me see, the way he words it, I think, is important. Yeah, he said, "Most of these men don't believe the same way you do, but they believe so much in how you believe."
Oh, wow.
So that's...
What a line.
So it doesn't have to, like you said, there's no conversion there, but there's recognition.
Wow, that's cool. And they believe so much in how you believe. That's cool.
You guys have any other scenes that you want to bring up?
I have the one with look at it, like, almost like now the action now that shows not just the talk, but shows that the whole company accepts him, is when they go to save the Bible. They save his Bible at great risk to their own well-being. So it's now then the other side of the coin saying, "We respect you, we see it, we respect your ideals that were unique to ours and abnormal, and we thought you would actually be a liability. You've shown to be heroic. And we're not just going to say we appreciate you, we're going to risk our butts for something you hold precious." Like this icon of what you hold precious. That this is foundation of your ideals. We're gonna risk it for that. I thought, I mean, yeah, that's when I cried, because being someone who I struggle with everything. But see, someone who struggles in my own faith, but tries to be authentic. And when I get upset about it, is I don't feel like I let myself down because I'm just me. When I feel like I let the source of my strength down, I feel like, I kind of beat myself up about it. Because I'm like, again, I don't want to be preachy, but God is so much bigger than what I represent him as. And so much better and so much kinder and has so much more loving. And I'm like, I am a horrible example of that love. And so whenever I hit a note that's pretty good, I'm like, yeah, that feels good. And I feel like I'm doing my purpose here. And what a validating thing to Doss that would have been to have that group do that. Not for his glory, by the way, but like to say, for him, I mean, you look at his belief system, I'm not being preachy, but him looking and maybe praying and saying, you get this. You get this glory for what these guys are doing right now. Because everything I see about him is authentic in a way that I'm not sure I've ever been. He's living it, and now their actions are tangible, a visual of they're buying in and they're seeing the change that this source can be in one person. So again, they're not converted, but they're taking action, and he can see this action happening. That is a reflection of his ideals being lived. And we could all be so called, fortunate, lucky. You know what I mean? That is such a cool payoff, such a yummy payoff for Doss there. So that's cool.
So one of my important scenes to me was actually when you're first introduced to Sergeant Howell. Mm-hmm. I like in such a serious movie that they had that complete ridiculous scene of just him ripping apart all the other privates. And it's just a little funniness in such a serious movie was kind of refreshing to me. I laugh every time I watch it. And then it also sets up for Private Cornstalk. What they, keep him away from a strong breeze and all that. But yet, later in the movie, he's carrying full-grown men, guys that are probably even twice his size, to safety. So it kind of sets up for what they got wrong about him. So that's why I like the scene, because you look back on it and they were completely wrong about him, and also, you get the funny parts of the camaraderie with them.
I feel like there's a few parts in the movie that are like unintentionally funny to me. And it's going to sound terrible, but the first time that he's lowering someone from the ridge is like in the background. You just see like this puppet, like slowly, like, it looks like something out of Toy Story.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to do a heist or something.
But I also like when Vince Vaughn is in a serious role, but yet he's still Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
So I like, and then later when he's got to lower him down, he's like, you got to be kidding me. Because, the rope thing and that he completely tore him apart about.
Yeah.
It was cool. I always like seeing someone in a role that, because like what I say with Sam Jackson, or I say that all the time on this show, you're playing, you're playing Sam Jackson. Or, you're a cool, handsome guy here. But to see him in that role, he still had some of his character, you know what I mean? But I liked seeing him differently. But then it's nice casting, because you're like, here's why you got him. He fits this line perfect, this sarcasm or this little dry line.
So my other important scene that I listed, like I said, was for storytelling. So it's a subtle yet symbolic gesture of Desmond Doss's character here. In the beginning, when he saves the boy that's pinned down by the car, yes, he saves the boy's life, and it leads him to meeting to his future wife, and eventually, leads to him becoming the hero in that battle that he was. But the subtlety I'm speaking about is his belt. So, as they're kids, the fight happened between the brothers, and you could see, what is his dad's name? Tom? So Tom takes off his belt is kind of like, that wasn't the first time that he would have taken off his belt to whip the boys, and Desmond references that later in the movie. So his father removes the belt to whip the boys when they act up, and Desmond uses his belt as a tourniquet to save a life. So it becomes a metaphor for how you demonstrate your value or your beliefs, and for Desmond's involvement in the war as well. In this one instance, the belt is used as a weapon to beat the opposition into submission and repentance, to beat you until you believe what I'm saying. And in the other instance, the belt is used to save, to demonstrate the value of human life and to care for the people around you.
Oh, that's good.
So that's why I thought that was kind of the important distinction right there, and the kind of the crossroads between his upbringing and his actual values and faith. Any other important scenes you guys want to bring up?
I'm good. I'm good. There's a lot of good scenes, but
There really are. There's like too many good scenes. Or
I like the one that Tiff said. I was going to comment on it, but good filmmaking does that, right? Sets the table nicely. So, because like what she said was kind of like using the contrast as a payoff scene later. And when we first started this adventure, I was never mindful of those things. Now when I watch movies, I just watched Devil Wears Prada too. I look for those things to say, oh, that might be something. That's not a throwaway. They're going to use that again. And more often than not, they do if it's a decent film. It's written that way to set the table. That creates a nice conflict, a nice contrast later. And again, it's made it more enjoyable. Even though I kick and scream along the way the entire time, it's made the experience of watching films a lot more enjoyable.
So how many times have you seen Skinnamarink?
3. So one more time
That's 2 more than I have.
I know. So 2 more times since last. 1 more time since last we talked. Lord help me.
That's still impressive, though.
Oh, it's just as creepy. We were talking about the movie, right?
Next, I want to bring up then this idea of infringement on coexistence. Now, I don't know if this term actually exists already, but it's something I thought up of when trying to organize my thoughts here. So when I say infringement on coexistence, what does this mean to you guys? Hopefully it comes across as to what I'm intending here.
I don't know if I'm anywhere close, but I always thought the mainstream struggle to accept or accommodate beliefs outside the norm.
Okay.
Like a mainstream, like everybody's swimming one way, and if I'm swimming the other way, the mainstream, their ability to understand, accept, and I'd even go so far as to accommodate why I'm swimming upstream the other way. Like, how they reconcile, what the heck is that guy doing? Is it dangerous? Is it taken away from my experience? You know what I mean?
How about you, Tiff?
I interpreted it as not allowing, I guess, 2 opposing ideas or beliefs to exist in one space.
Like that.
Like how he wanted to go to war even though he doesn't believe in violence. So it's like he can accept it, like he just wants to be there to help amongst all the death. And nobody understood why he would do that, and even went so far as to try and stop him from doing that.
Like, we're here to kill. Why aren't you killing with us?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying right there with hers is like the mainstream's ability to understand, accept, or accommodate him. It's almost like they didn't want to do any of the 3.
So I thought of mine actually wasn't as concise as your guys was.
It's the first time that's happened, by the way.
So I thought of an interruption of peace because someone, a group, a government, a faction, a country pushes a balance off kilter.
Ooh, I like that, though.
So it may evoke a reaction from whoever the infringement is on. I want to stay away from real current issues here out of respect, you can go on social media and see unlimited examples of what I'm talking about here, where someone makes a comment, a post, a protest. Sometimes that's all that's needed to cause a rift between people. Sometimes it's even the pursuit of finding a subject you disagree with that causes the infringement. You know, people trolling, people finding videos that they disagree with just so they can make a comment on how much they disagree with it and why what they think is wrong. You know? So when I think of causes to estrangement and war, I think of this idea of infringement on coexistence. You must believe what I believe, so I know we're on the same side. If you don't think what I think, you are on the wrong side. And you must be forced to see things my way. In our movie, you'd think, well, of course the main divide then is between the factions that are at war, shooting each other. But instead you see this most notably, to me anyway, most notably between members of the same side. So Glover and Vaughn, obviously working to oust Doss from the military because his values don't align with theirs. Refusing to have any other way of thinking of how to utilize Doss, at least until their own government tells them to do so. And this results in the saving of 75 men's lives. And just this one battle, I'm assuming Doss fought in other battles or was involved in more in the war, but I could be wrong on that. And that's not nothing right there. You know, tens of thousands, how many ever died? You think 75, well, that's not much, but those are generations of people and Americans allowed to have a future. And you see the impact made when these soldiers are allowed to value coexistence. So I feel like, you know, during the first season, KMax, we had a lot of things where we'd bring it up and say, hey, that kind of relates to what we're going through now.
Right.
I feel like that's one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Are there any...
Well, going off of what you just said, they went as far as to almost provoke the rest of his squad to turn against him, too. So you could tell where some of them were kind of uneasy about it. So it's like, and they, it seemed like they almost felt pressured to, you know, attack him sometimes physically.
Like, I have to pick a side.
Yeah. Like, he's wrong for what he's doing, and he's going to get us killed. And
Well, that feels like social media right now. You must tell me. And you just see these, like, very, very, very specific, non-specific things, you know, where people try to get you to pick a side. No, you can't. I remember one time saying something about just general about these are the two best we can come up with. And someone's like, "Oh, they're not this. You have to see this. You don't say that because it may." And I'm like, I wasn't even talking about that, honestly, you know. But it was like, no, if you're going to say anything, you have to. By who says
The rules of what?
Yeah.
But remember in our war conversation, I talked about how, you know, in order to prop up one side, you have to put down the other. You have to dehumanize. And, I mean, you see it in this movie. You see it probably in every war movie. But the other side is just the enemy. They're just, you know, you give them nicknames. I'm not going to repeat any of them. But a lot of, you know, racial slurs or however you want to name them, that's what you give them instead of people, instead of men, instead of fathers and sons. You know, they are just, you know, insert racially charged insult name.
yeah.
It's almost like a shield to keep you from believing that you're actually killing people.
And
like a coping mechanism.
Right.
You know,
Dehumanize them.
And like just with social media, who knew we were going to talk about social media so much?
Right.
But same thing though. Whereas, they believe something else. I'm going to call them this. I'm going to call them whatever. You know, just kind of spew it out there because if you're not with me, you must be the bad guy.
And by the way, shout out to my colleague Kent for telling me tonight, if you're not drinking with me, I have to assume you're drinking against me. He's a great dude. He was just joking with me, and I thought, hey, that's hilarious. I'm going to work that in tonight. It'll probably get edited out, but I'm going to work it in there.
You guys see any other spots where you see this infringement on coexistence in the movie?
I saw when they were kind of shadily trying to punish him for worshiping on Saturday by giving him a really hard duty on Sunday when the rest of them were when you're supposed to worship. Because it's almost like trying to take his belief in God, his version of his faith, and say, well, if you were, really were worshiping God, you would worship him on Sunday like good old Americans do. And they tried to you remember that? I think I'm remembering it. And they kind of subtly put him on a hard duty. You want to worship on Saturday? Go ahead. But on Sunday, you're gonna have to do this horrible duty here. So it's almost like another thing of you need to conform. Your Seventh-day Adventist faith specifically. It's like we're gonna try to get you to. We just want you to understand that you don't fit. So again, my definition, where they don't want to accept or accommodate his beliefs. So it's like, we're not only going to ignore and not grant this to you, we're going to make an effort to make you feel, to almost make it not possible to worship the way you see fit. And I thought that was, I think of that fancy term, infringement on coexistence. That's a tough thing, to be when you're on the receiving end of that, where someone's taking that from you. And whatever your thing is, I think of folks that can't love the way they choose to love, right? Sometimes, and it's like, and I think I'm guilty of some of the things I say sometimes. And I don't mean it in certain ways, but all I have is what I have, right? And so, people ask me, because I do like marriages and stuff like that. I do. And I'm like, yeah, I do certain ceremonies. And then there's been people who have asked for certain. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be nasty here, But then at the same time, I'm thinking, just by me saying certain things, I am alienating some folks. Mm-hmm. And I don't ever mean to do that.
I think we kind of brought that up a little bit in past episodes, where is my belief the main factor that splits us, or is it your reaction to my belief that splits us? So I think you see that in the movie too here.
Yeah, that's right.
Where it's by itself, Doss's beliefs don't cause any conflict, but the reaction to those beliefs.
That's right.
But then it turns into, well, if you knowingly go into boot camp with the intention of not touching a rifle, are you kind of infringing on that space a little bit? Kind of like, oh, you guys must accept me because these are my beliefs. And right here in Code 42.7, B, I don't have to carry a weapon. Like that almost, just to play devil's advocate here, is a little bit infringing also. It takes a little bit to see that there are other ways that you can make that work. But if you're playing devil's advocate here, you're kind of like, hey, what do you expect? You're trying to be a soldier. Yes, you want to be a medic, but you have to go to boot camp, and if you're a soldier, you should learn to at least fire a weapon. Mm-hmm. And he just disregards, blatantly, there's no compromise on his end either, though. Mm-hmm. So,
where he could have practiced or something, and
didn't
even you're not
shoot the target.
That was partly how I was. Remember, I said my first reaction was I was a little uncomfortable because it was a little counterintuitive. My hero, I was a little bit. There's part of me that almost found that unbelievable. I know it wasn't because it's factual, but I found it unbelievable that he couldn't just practice and learn how to clean a gun and shoot it for practice without killing anybody.
Because you could see it from, I don't know any of these commanding officers' names other than Glover and Howell.
Right.
The bald guy in boot camp. The balder guy. He went to the court case.
Yeah.
So that guy.
Musgrove. No, yeah. Maybe.
I thought Musgrove signed off on
okay, yeah.
But it was the guy, he came in when they're about to go on leave.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't sign the deal was that you learn how to do all the training. If you pass all the training, you can go. But you didn't pass your your gun training or whatever. Like, that's probably a fair deal that he gave him.
Yeah. Like,
You can go.
just show me you know how to work
reload
this
the
thing.
weapon.
Yeah.
Like, load it.
Wasn't even
unload
asking
it.
him to fire a shot.
Right. So, I mean, that by itself could be a little bit infringing on coexistence, I think. You know, I guess if you kind of move this situation to like different examples here, you go into someone else's space, refuse to adapt to what that culture, that law, whatever, wherever you are, says to do, and they're seen as the bad guy. So I can't think of any specific examples, but you kind of get this idea, right? Where someone goes to another place, expects everyone else to adapt to what that one person's, it's not even a need, but their values, you know?
Mm-hmm. And they said that in the court case when the lawyer goes to say, like, he walks around and flaunts his morality. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, he does have a point. Like, he's, not that he meant to, like, that's just who he is, but he was trying to be more moral, I guess, than everyone else.
And, like, found, like, it wasn't even a loophole, but, like, found this, like, stipulation, this part of the law, whatever it is, that allows him to do that. And I don't know, I feel like I would get frustrated if anyone today, like, found, like, a little law that says, hey, I don't have to do this because it says right here, you know.
Well, people like that tend to annoy me. Like, even in the workplace. They're like,
I don't have to fulfill my duties as a citizen because right here it says I don't have to.
Well, even I'll hear it, like, because I'm a good union employee, and I'll hear someone will make a reasonable request, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. And then someone will come up like, you really shouldn't set that. It's a dangerous precedent. And I'm like, yeah, it's common sense. I'm going to do it. And, you know, but, like, I believe in unions big time. I'm thankful for it. And, but, like, I feel like that with someone that's like, well, technically you really should. Like, okay, thanks. And I get that people have fought for those rights. I get that part. But there's sometimes when I think when someone comes, if I'm just doing something for a kid that makes sense, I don't want someone to come up with me and show me a highlighted part in the thing saying, you're in violation. If something just is the right thing to do, sometimes it's just the right thing to do. And so I feel like that with this. I know he wasn't.
Like, obviously, in the end, we see, like, oh, well, good thing that all worked
Yeah,
out.
right.
I think the other example I wanted to bring up was the home of the Doss home, because we get the first close to half of the movie, you know, where he's at home and then goes to boot camp, has that kind of conflict there. But you get the sense that it's not the strongest household, with the father having some sort of PTSD, some sort of mental anguish from the war that he was in, and kind of taking it out on his own family. But you see the climax of that conflict in the conversation that Desmond has with Smitty when they're in the what do you call it?
Foxhole?
Yeah. And you see the flashback of what happened when Tom is beating on his wife, and Desmond steps in, wrestles the gun away from him, points it at his own father. And so I think that's an infringement that was patched by, you know, taking the high road of not doing eye for an eye and not a preemptive strike, like, you know, in the war of, like, pretty much any war, well, we're attacking them before they attack this, or before they do this. We have to eliminate the enemy before they do anything bad. I think you kind of had a little bit of that in this situation here, except, you know, right by Doss's character, chooses not to eliminate the quote enemy, and just kind of use that as the point of saying, this isn't great. This is not what we should be doing. And choosing not to fire, and allowing that household to patch itself back up. And you can see the long-term effects of that when you get the support that Tom has for his son in that court case. Even though Tom, he has very, I don't even think they're mixed. He has very strong reaction when his sons try to enlist, or they do enlist. But he tells the first son to get out of his sight. And he kind of goes back thinking about how his friend was shot from the back and his guts were everywhere.
Awful.
Awful, yeah. And then in the court case, though, showing that support because he's seen the grace that Desmond had shown him that allowed him to live, and presumably his life get a little bit better after that. But he hands over the letter knowing full well he disagrees with what Desmond's doing, but because he's supporting his son, still goes through with the letter that gets his son free to continue serving as a medic. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was...
Well, also with that, how he said, like, well, if this isn't what I was fighting for, then I don't know what I was fighting for. Mm-hmm. So it's like he knew it was his son's right. So if they're not going to let him do this, then what was the point of what he did in World War I?
Wow, that's profound. I like that.
So it was almost like he was doing, he was accepting the coexistence of, he didn't agree with what, he didn't want his son to sign up, but
it's like
it was his right. And if it's his right to not use a gun, that's also his right.
It's like the Voltaire line, I may not agree with what you're saying, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's pretty, it's pretty heavy stuff.
So anything else to say on infringement on coexistence?
Let me see.
That discussion went a lot better than I thought it was going to. like I don't even know if the way I'm presenting that idea would come across, but you guys grasped it pretty swiftly.
Excellent.
Something I think we've talked pretty personal throughout this whole episode so far, but what's something that we personally identify with in the movie?
I'll let Tiff go first this time.
So
for the first time all night.
This was kind of hard. So that part that we had talked about with where you see Smitty dies and he starts to lose almost his faith. Mm-hmm. I feel like the past couple of years, that's how I feel sometimes. Mm-hmm. Why am I going through this? Like, are you even there? Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like you're not with me right now. And it's just got to get that faith back.
Mm. Seems overwhelming. Mm-hmm.
Well, you, KMax.
Yeah. Second to that, first of all. That is the scariest thing. I won't even jump into that. I'll say this one. The thing I identify most with is I'll go a little bit more head on. Kind of like the idea of faith, being someone that has faith as an outlier rather than the norm. So it's like you're always kind of an outlier in a conversation. I don't mind appearing to fit in, ever. I don't mind. Again, I don't ever want anybody. I remember my nephew Eamon used to say, I'm no better than anybody, but I'm certainly no worse, right? And I kind of like that because I don't want to put anybody down or make anybody feel like they're inferior to me ever. But I also don't want to be looked down on by anyone ever. Mm-hmm. And it's a tough balance being someone who has faith, because those are some things you shouldn't be mindful of. It shouldn't matter what someone thinks of you. It shouldn't matter how you're perceived. You should live right regardless of it and let the chips kind of fall where they may. So I guess the way I phrased it was, trying to have a standard for yourself, right? Again, the operative word here with KMax is trying to. And the caveat is sucking at it, but trying to have a standard for yourself and then being viewed as narrow-minded and judgmental by society that kind of rejects accountability. Like, oh, you don't accept this, or oh, you're this, or oh, you don't do this, so then you must. People take great liberties filling in the blanks. Oh, you believe this, so therefore you must. You don't do this, so therefore you must. I'm like, please don't assign anything superlative unless you know me, because there's not much there. If you see the positives, it is largely from this source that I'm trying to live out. It is largely because of this belief system that I'm trying hard to be authentic to. If you see a mess, a hot mess, which is most of the time, then you see me. But if you see any good, it's not me trying to be better than you. It's not me trying to judge you or belittle you. It's me trying to be a reflection of this God I'm talking about. Failing miserably, not God, but me. But if you see any of this good stuff, that's what it is. It's shit. I'm hoping to be a reflection, but kind of like Doss here in his own way. Me, in my daily stuff. So I guess what do I identify with? I do identify with it. I'm not saying I'm persecuted or under fire, but I do identify with being an outlier and being different. Ever since I was a little guy, not being careful not to judge anybody, but can't help but say I've always felt that way around folks. And it's like you just kind of reconcile yourself with I'm just going to be a little different. I'm just going to be a little different, and some people might say don't flatter yourself. No one even worried about that, and maybe that's the case, but it doesn't change the fact that you feel different, how you perceive it, So yeah, that's how I kind of identified with Doss that way. Like, yeah, it kind of is can be rough to be misunderstood, or even understood, and people being threatened, and the last thing you want to do is make anybody feel threatened. Like, I don't think that I'm not trying to, like what they said in court, parade my faith out here. Like I'm not trying to grandstand, but let me be.
So I had a kind of a train of thought here that one kind of flows into the other. I feel like I can't talk about one without mentioning the other here. So I'll start with, I guess, still getting tested with struggles after trying to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. In the movie, you see Doss is just trying to go by his faith, trying to make the right decisions at any point he can, trying not to kill, trying to save, trying to lead by example, and it's just test after test after test. So starts off with almost killing his own brother, growing up with abusive father, going to war, seeing hundreds of men killed before his eyes, getting his leg almost blown off. So it's just struggle and issue after struggle after issue after trying to do all the right things. And it might be a little bit dramatic because I certainly never have to face a grenade or get shot at. But it's the little things that you think, okay, I made the right decision there. I was honest. I fessed up to this. But now, because of that, you have to face these consequences or that accountability. Or, okay, you made a good decision and now you're going to get immediately tested with another conflict or something else that it's not a reward that you got after making the right decision. Mm-hmm. It's another test. Yeah. And so, Tiffy, like you, when he's questioning at the top of the ridge during the night, like, why I can't hear you. Like, for me, it wasn't like, and that's why I said one idea flows into the other because of the faith part. And for me, it's not so much questioning, like, are you there? Are you listening? I can't hear you. It was more like, the emotion I got from him there that I connected with was kind of like, what else? I mean, I saved, how many ever at this point? Like, what do you want from me? That's what he asked, right? What do you want from me? Like, I trying to do what I can, and I look over here and I see this guy that has no morals get millions of dollars, and I see this guy over here that might sleep with all these different people and still get all the spoils at the end that people wish they had. And it's like, well, what good is me living this life if now my next thing I have to go back into the battlefield and save another guy? Like, to me, then at that point, what it becomes is this idea of representing your faith. It doesn't even have to be faith. Your values, your family, your culture. It's demonstrating those without resorting to conflict. So leading by example, and the flock may follow. In the movie, Doss demonstrates goodness in the face of the horrors of war, and you see how the men recognize that and learn to respect it and even get inspired by it. When I relate that back to myself, I don't need to talk at someone or to someone to explain what I believe, what my values are, what my culture is. It'll come across truly with my own actions and dedication. So like I said, it's not just a Christian thing. If you believe in acceptance, you believe in peace, respect, how about community, family, career? They're all visible in what you do. I also see the symbolic gesture of when Doss first arrives to the battlefield and the other medics immediately instruct him to remove his Red Cross sleeve and helmet. The other medics say they are like the targets by the opposition because of it. So strategic but brutal war tactic. But I immediately felt some personal subtext here, and it came twofold. First interpretation was the idea of being targeted by others for believing in what you believe. We spent the first hour of the movie seeing how Doss earned those Red Cross symbols, and he was almost put in prison for indefinite amount of time because of that. And so they weren't just slapped on a random soldier saying, okay, you're the medic, go do this. He had to fight to earn that sleeve and that symbol on his helmet. So now it's the idea of laying low in your expression of what you believe in order to allow peace for yourself and perhaps those around you. So a sacrifice in expression. This sounds perhaps a tad cowardice until I had the second interpretation. It relates to what I said with your beliefs being visible in what you do. You don't need the outward expression, the patch, the exclamation of who you are or what you do. People are going to see with your actions who you are. So again, no need for specific faith labeling here to understand the significance of this idea. In fact, I wouldn't even limit, I could just go without even mentioning faith. You care about rights, equality, love. As Desmond Doss demonstrates, actions speak louder than words, or a patch on your sleeve. Now, I know the medic patch wasn't meant as a symbol of belief in the context of the war, but that's the subtext that spoke to me from this as a story. And if I were to relate this, if I were to add back in the faith bit, it's literally a Red Cross, right?
Yeah.
What do you do when your values are under attack? Here's the quote even, because they ask it verbatim. So it's when Glover is talking with Doss, and he's kind of questioning, like, what are you doing here? You're not fit to be with us. And so he says, what do you do when everything you value in this world is under attack? And Doss responds, I ain't got answers to questions that big, but I also feel like my values are under attack. Put ourselves in Desmond Doss's shoes during that conversation. How do we respond to that question? I think it's a tough question to ask ourselves personally too. I feel like this takes some good self-reflection.
Yeah, I have a 4-point response to that, and it's almost a fail-safe to how I respond. I try to show grace, first of all. I try not to get defensive or angry because someone is kind of calling me out, right? When they're under attack, I try to first not hot-headedly respond. That's my natural response. Mm. I try to stand by my ideals. Try to stand by them. And then I try to hold fast. And most importantly, folks, hear this. I fail. That's the process. And then I get up and I try to do that again the next time that they're called under attack. I wish I didn't fail so much. It certainly would help the cause a lot better. It certainly would help credibility a lot better. As much as I respect the idea of making it more general, to be more accessible, the conversation for folks. All I have is my belief system when I'm again, that's perception, it's my own perception, so that's all I have to work with. And so this quote always comes to mind. The number one thing that an unbelieving world that keeps people from understanding our faith as Christians, and I say my faith as a Christian, are believers. That's the number one thing that keeps people from believing, who acknowledge their faith with their lips and go out and deny it with their lifestyle day after day after day after day after day. Guilty is charged right here. And so I think that there is merit in the effort, not like trying to work my way to get there. Like I'm working my way to get there, but like knowing that I'm imperfect, knowing that, because this is a very personal question, knowing that I'm imperfect, the striving for it. And after 54 years of continuing, I like the striving for it. One of my, and I'm not going to make it emotional, but one of my heroes who strived for it, I lost him in the past year. I give so much value to people who stay in the freaking fight and strive for it and go down kicking and screaming, striving for it. I'm going to fail till the day I die at this. My kids will see me kicking and screaming to get to that finish line. You know what I mean? Because it's like a worthy thing. And that's the thing. Anything you value, like you keep working at it. You might fail at it. You might fail more than you succeed in it. But if it's something that's authentic, again, and in Dawes here, he stuck to it in the movie. He could have easily put up his hands and said, "I don't need this." He could have just not let it be a big deal. He could have said, I'm going to make it easy on my drill sergeant. I'm going to make it easy on my company. I'm going to Roger Rabbit out of this thing. I'm going to make it easy on myself, certainly, and just back out of it. But he stayed in there, understanding the cost it would cost him, understanding that it wouldn't make him the most popular, but he valued it, and it was authentic. And I got so much respect for that person. I'll never put myself in that number of being that person, but I would always try to be. And I hope my kids see that, and I hope my community sees that, and I can count on fingers and toes the times that I've let my kids in my community down that way. But I just want to have a few handfuls of times of saying there's a person that could cite and say that dude tried, that not tried to save himself, but that guy tried to exemplify the things that his ideals that he said he had. There will be close friends that say, "Gosh, did he suck at it?" Yeah, and there'll be enemies that will point out, hypocrite, this or that. But I'd rather be called those things for standing for some things that I tried to value and being bad at it, than to not stand for anything and just say, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like the unexamined life, is it worth living or not? I'd rather examine it and say, yeah, I'm doing pretty rough. And then try to get better. Almost Ted Lasso-ish.
Yeah.
Almost Leslie. Leslie was like, you learn to do better. You try to do a little better, and you reflect. You try to make the improvements. For me, it's a faith thing, but I don't think it necessarily has to be in this conversation. It's a reflection and saying, I don't want to be a big jerk. I want to be less of a big jerk tomorrow than I was today.
I think that's important, though, that your answer is based in such truth and self-reflection and honesty of I fail. Because I feel like a lot of people, if you ask this question, what do you do when your values are under attack, it turns into, well, who's attacking my values? Who's doing this?
Yeah.
Who's, reflecting or deflecting the actual reflection that you're supposed to be having with that question.
Yeah, I really liked when I saw the pre-production of that question. It spiraled me a bit in a good way. But it was a gut punch. I was like, man, I sometimes freaking rot at this. But then I think of the limited times that I don't. And I'm like, then I can be a reflection. The one song Daryl wrote about the moon being trying to be more like his dad. And that song about the moon, like I just want to be his dad's the sun, just a very, very touchy thing. And I just want to be a moon being a reflection of you. And that's such a beautiful little line there, That's a cool thing. I'm going to stop talking for a minute.
Just for a minute.
I'll be back, though.
There was something I wanted to jump off of when you mentioned. Just give me a
Probably
second.
a short pier. While you were talking, there's something I wanted to jump off of. I think it was a cliff when you opened your yapper.
Oh, it was this, with that honesty of kind of like I fail, and I mean, we'll go into how Desmond Doss reacts or answers that question. The decisions that he had to make that were depicted in this movie are hopefully decisions that I'll never have to make. Mm-hmm. And on a day-to-day basis, I'm making these choices to try and do good, do better, improve the lives of my family. But they're nowhere near as dramatic as what Doss has to figure. His hands are just cut up raw from this rope, and he's crawling across his battlefield saying one more, that strive to save these people. I mean, it does get rewarded. The little challenges that I think I face are nothing compared to what the next person faces and the next person. And the example, Tiffy sent me that video where they kind of go through some of the actual things.
Yeah, like the stuff that they ended up leaving out of the movie.
Right. Like it was too unbelievable to put it in a movie.
I think they said it was like too unbelievable and almost corny, where it wasn't gonna.
Like okay.
It wouldn't appeal to the masses.
Yeah, there's no way this happened type thing.
So like the one that comes to mind is where they said the Japanese sniper, his gun kept jamming whenever he had Desmond in his sights.
No kidding.
And it happened multiple times where because they found this sniper, I guess, they interviewed him or something. And he said he'd aim a different soldier, it'd fire no problem. He'd aim it back to Desmond, click, and it wouldn't fire.
Gosh, that's cool.
And that happened on multiple occasions. And so like that's when I say like, I made a decision to not do that and do this instead. Well, of course I'm going to see another struggle. That was nothing.
Yeah.
Compared to this, trying to save generations of people and being rewarded by a clicking sniper,
Mm-hmm. Gosh, I won't get carried away, but I want to jump on that for just a second.
Jump on it.
Because like when you watch Schindler's List from the book Schindler's Ark, you look at the collection that Itzhak Stern hands to Schindler as he's making his escape. It's a collection of their journals and the stories that they have. And that's what the movie's based on. And these are actual journals that we're getting there. And the story about the rabbi who was taken out, and the two different officers tried 3 different guns to murder him. and all of them misfired, and they ended up just throwing a gun and hitting him in the back of the head, knocking him unconscious, by the way. And he was hurt for a while, but he lived and he made it through. That was from that. That was from that story. Like, there was a, you call it what you want, but like a supernatural intervention, you might say, right? And you read stories of, like, I know John Eliot, this missionary down in, like, South America, in this book, Shadow of the Almighty or whatever, like, they talked to the tribesmen after, years and years and years after, and the one guy sits down with Eliot, and he asks him, he goes, the first year and a half you were here, who were those? Were they mercenaries? Who were those huge soldiers that set up camp around your house for the first year and a half that were there? He said, we didn't dare come up against them. He said, and they didn't leave, and they only appeared when we were about to attack, and they were just to sit there, and they never looked like they were going to harm us. He goes, but we knew we weren't going to get past them, so we just would leave you alone. We meant to murder you the first year and a half you guys were there, you and your kids and your family, but they were there every time. Who were they? And Elliot he said his wife, and then they just broke down and cried because they didn't have anybody there. And again, there's no reason for that guy they weren't converted, but they said, now that we know, who do you know? You know what I mean? And that goes along with the eyewitness account of the guy that's pulling the trigger and things like that. We don't know. Edit it out if you'd like. When we're supposed to be doing what we're supposed to be doing, and we do pick maybe that path, and we have undertaking on our behalf that we're not even aware of, I think. And I think that's a cool thing. It gives me goosebumps. And, I might be a little weird for it, but, man, people are weird for a lot worse and a lot better things. I like that I'm weird for that I believe in promises that are there and protections that are there. And, again, I don't ever want to put commercials out there, but I'm like, I can give account for my crazy. If someone ever wants to know about why I'm such a freaking crazy person that way, why I have so much hope in the face sometimes of, like, hopelessness, and why I have hope in great loss, I've seen it way too many times in my 54 years to deny the hope and the benefit and the encouragement and whatnot. You know what I mean? There's reasons why people have belief systems. And I'm always happy to share mine on another forum if anybody likes. And I like coffee and breakfast.
Now, Tiffy, this is probably one of the deepest questions that I've asked of our podcast here. So I wouldn't blame you one bit if you told me to shove it with this one.
Because I have. No.
When I saw the question, it made me wonder, like, when have I ever been, like, attacked, for my values or anything? And I guess I could say I feel like I'm lucky that I haven't really noticed it, or haven't, like, maybe I was oblivious to it. And, like, I had one coworker who he just wanted to always egg me on. And he would be like, why do you believe in God? And I would just, why not? What is it hurting you? Like, why is it bothering you what I believe in? And and he never liked that answer. And then he would just pick apart, all the Bible stories, and I'd look at him, I'm like, it's called faith for a reason. Because I have faith. And if I want to believe in what I believe, it's not hurting you. And I'm like, I don't know if it's because, I live an imperfect life that I try not to be preachy. I'm like, but I still have my faith. So that was like the only time I could really think of someone, questioning me or coming at me. And he tried more than once to, just pick a fight. And I'm just like, you can believe in nothing. It's not
right.
It's not hurting me. And it makes me sad that you don't believe in anything. I'm like, and I wish you all the best, but I'm going to keep believing that, I'm going to a better place eventually.
Yeah, that's the thing about faith is like it's not supposed to be tangible. That's why it's faith. If it were tangible and everything, it would be fact. People might.
It's like conclave.
Yeah, people might say like, well, it is fact. This, says here this and that, but it is faith for a reason. And people like that have a tough time going after people or continuing that argument when you just say, well, it's what I believe.
Yeah.
You can't.
I don't know what to tell you, dude.
Yeah, that's on you now. But I think it can be easy to just sit back and say, yeah, war is bad. Of course, war and destruction are bad things. Easy to say other people are making mistakes by going to war, by fighting. Easy to defy the concept when it's not personal. So, what happens when it becomes personal? What happens when your own values are under attack? People you love, beliefs you have, the culture you live. So, asking myself, how do I personally react when other people or powers that be criticize or threaten to take them from me? And do I actually have any experience with that? Same thing as Tiffy. Well, have I actually noticed people attacking? Does it come in certain ways that I don't label it as attacking? Is it people attack? Is it like strays that I'm catching from? If people are debating this faith over here, am I catching strays from that, or are they actually talking to me? So this question did, even though I posed it to us, it was quite a bit to answer it myself. And for me, it's funny. We must be related here. But I think I try to take solace in my identity. So if someone has a problem with who I am, what I think, what I've done, it comes back to a thought I had earlier this season. If someone is looking for a reason to be upset, they're going to find it. Mm-hmm. There may be nothing you can say that will change that mindset. If I know and feel my values to be true, then I can use them as a shield or a home plate that I can be safe if I stay there. If I stray from my base, I become prone to becoming targeted. So family attacked, faith attacked, ethnicity attacked. Find strength in unity and remind yourself of the importance of those things in your life. So in my very humble existence, that has been the extent of my defending of values. So any prolonged critique of my values or how I live or how I conduct myself becomes a them problem, not mine. So luckily, I haven't had to resort to physical altercation to bypass the difference in values or conflict. I also think of the phrase from earlier, infringement on coexistence. And I think that goes both ways. If I do not infringe on that coexistence, if I do not push that boundary with people or places I know have a differing set of values, then I have no reason to defend what I believe. So coexistence, peace, this is my lens, of course, based on my experience, because that's all I have. I know other people deal with far more serious or illogical attacks on their values and identity, and I just don't have that experience. I think there's something to say as well about macro level and micro levels of infringement that affects our level of reaction. So if some person in cyberspace attacks Christian faith or Native Americans or broader yet men, I am less inclined to give it a second thought because these are universal or very encompassing topics. So it's kind of hard sometimes to take it personal when it's just people spewing out to millions, possibly billions of people across the world. Oh, okay, there's a drop in the ocean right there. But if someone verbally or physically attacks a family member, a friend, there may be less controlled reaction and more emotion due to, like I said, personal attack there. So like I said, luckily, I don't think I've had to reach that level. And if I haven't defended someone when I should have, I apologize to whoever that might be. Any reaction to that, KMax?
No, I like it a lot, man. I like when you use, the word coexistence, right? I think that's a beautiful word, honestly, because, for instance, like I go, some of my favorite coffee are these new, like Arabic places in Buffalo or whatever to get a good cup of coffee. And I know for a fact that our belief systems don't align. And so do I go in there and like pound the table? I go in there and I try to learn a little bit about them. And I have conversations with like the host or whoever is talking. And then I'll talk about, the process of their, and I'm like, this is the best cup of coffee I've had ever. And just to watch them glow. And I mean it. I'm not being disingenuous. I mean it. And I try to like frequent places like that. Not that I'm trying to convert, their faith or whatever, but there's no harm in me getting to know them as people and understanding what makes them tick, and help me be a better neighbor, help me be a better teacher, help me be a better citizen, better Bills fan with them, better Sabres fan. The things that we have in common. I find myself doing this on the res a lot when I host like the auction for the community fair and things. I crack jokes. I do like a stand-up bit as I'm doing it because it's fun. And I pick on the common ground that we have. I find that and I pick on it with each party in that room.
There we go. Focus on what you do have in common,
And
not
just
what you don't.
really, really, really,
Absolutely.
really have a blast with it. And by the end of the night, I don't ever see anybody who's offended by it. No one feels ostracized. It's a fancy word. Don't know what it means. I think it means like called out or like kind of like demonized or vilified. You know what I mean?
It is a old wooden ship from the Civil War era.
I always think you have vision like an ostrich. That's ostrich eyes, though. So it's from the Latin word ostrich. That's not true. None of that's true. But anyway, like what I mean? Like I like the word of coexistence because it's a very respectful term, and I don't mean like this big idealistic view. I only have my own. But it's like I don't think you could find someone who has faith, who doesn't, or who doesn't have faith, or who has a contrary faith to mine, who would say that I ever made them, if I ever made them feel uncomfortable, maybe it has just been me trying to understand them better. Because I'm blatantly asking them questions, and not to be smart-assed about it or to be cocky about it, but because I really want to understand them better. And I want them to be hopeful, and I want them to be happy where they're at and what they're doing. I work with someone who is like not a violent, but like a passionate atheist, passionate, like, not mean, but like, and she's awesome. And I work closely with her and I try my hardest to understand her. And I'll ask questions. She's very kind about it. She's like, why do you care so much? I'm like, I want to know you. We are not the same person. You have some peace about you. And I want to know, but and so I'll talk to her, and she's blown away by it. I'm like, I'm not used to people like you being this way. I said, sorry, first of all, and I said I'm not everybody, and I said, but it goes the same way with like people who just dismiss everybody throughout history who has the belief system that I have because of historically someone being the screw up. I said, we're people, we're screw ups, man. I said, but the person that I represent isn't a screw up. I am though. I'm just a person. So I said, I get that. There's a long history of trauma and generational trauma from people who have similar belief systems that I have. I get it. I see it. I hear it. I acknowledge it. And if you want me to apologize, I will for it. But I do not apologize for the ideology and the basis of where my belief system comes from, because I would hope to have a conversation to show you a little bit about the origin story, the origin story, instead of just this person who sucked at this and maybe even used it to victimize you. And it's funny because when we were watching Mother, to go back a couple seasons, I found myself thinking, I'm going to hate this movie. But I found myself saying to the filmmaker, get them. Because they were hiding behind that belief system to do nasty things. And the movie was calling those people out. And I'm like, get them. Alongside with these people who have been victimized and hurt by people who claim to have this belief system and use it for another purpose. Columbus, I'm looking at you, and others. Yeah, I mean, I can go on and on and on about these others, but yeah. And so I find myself talking to people and learning to see where they're coming from, then not with some big plan like Smithers trying to, how do I get you to fall off your high horse or abandon?
Well, I think that's super important, because I feel like nowadays you get people that it's not. I can't even call it a conversation starter. It's a heat-seeking missile.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you? What are your thoughts on this touchy subject?
Yeah.
Are you this political party or that political?
I enjoy the
party?
term heat-seeking, like missile type
Yeah.
thing.
What are your thoughts on that? Is this correct? And then waiting on your answer to either be like, yes, you believe what I believe, or to be like, you're evil, you believe this, you're that, you're just because you have this one belief, you are everything I am against. And so I think that's super important that you actually have. I just want to know you. We're in this community together. What? I'm not allowed to get to know you. I promise I'm not going to bite you.
Well, yeah, right. Honest to goodness, man. I always say this silly little podcast, man. Conversations can start in this little forum, right? And the conversation happens, and you see so many examples of how conversations go sideways and people divide because of hard conversations. If you go in with a little bit of humility, a little bit of respect, and this idea that you might be a little bit off from nailing it sometimes, you can get some good conversations with people who don't see the world the way you do. I might be a little bit off. And just in that little margin where they might say, me too. And, oh, wow, we can have there's no telling what conversation you can have between two people when you acknowledge that I might not be 100%. You might not be okay, let's chat then. It's so rare, though. It's so freaking rare.
Tiffy, anything to add?
When you were talking about social media and how it's, you got those people that are always just kind of looking for a argument. Me and my sister say that all the time. And then you get the people that get offended, and then, it just causes rifts. And it's like, well, if you don't like what they're saying, stay out of the conversation. It's not going to, most of the time, it's not going to change their mind.
No, right.
And it's just causing conflict. It's like, okay, I don't agree with you, but you're entitled to that opinion. And I'm just, okay. I run into that a lot at work. I get all sorts of people coming into Joe's, this guy over here. And
I just threw my phone at her head. I can't believe I did that.
In fairness, she did point at you, and she was like, this guy.
You really did.
And it's I get some people that they're just buying a drink, and all of a sudden they're spewing political stuff, and I'm just like, okay, $2.79, please. I'm not gonna get into it with them. And my coworker, he gets the same way, and we just look at him, and we're like, okay,
So when it comes to what do you do when your value's under attack, there it's like, well, they're I got my deflector shields up, so it's not even really an attack. I'm just gonna stand here because they're not getting through.
Yeah. So I guess it's almost my, I don't even know what you would call it, reserve. Just kind of. Sometimes I have a short temper, but usually when it comes to stuff like that, I'm just kind of like, okay,
your default.
Whatever.
You have a default
just
answer.
I'm not gonna engage and just blank stare, and that usually makes them feel more uncomfortable. Actually,
Sure.
They're like, why
no
are you
response.
attacking me?
Yeah, no response, and they just.
So when you compare how we respond when our values are, quote, under attack. You compare that to Desmond Doss, and it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Right.
This movie presents this question verbatim and allows the audience to follow the example set by Desmond Doss. Glover asks the question, and Doss recontextualizes the question when he says that he feels like his values are under attack. So Doss's answer is demonstrated from that point forward. Now, it's a general question, right? What do we do when our values are under attack? Whatever your values may be, what is your response when someone aggressively opposes them? However, so much of what my own values and morals are depicted in this movie. It becomes a personal question with an example on screen of how to follow. So again, I have to bring up the difference in macro and micro levels of infringement on coexistence here, because even Desmond Doss is portrayed as having struggles with it. Strong conviction about following his morals according to the commandments in his faith. That is, I'd say, a macro relationship he has. Countless people have similar convictions. But what happens when his own father starts abusing his mother? It almost results in Desmond killing the man. Less control, the more micro an infringement becomes, I feel like. So instead of eliminating opposing viewpoints, you double down on the good. You keep those values on your shield, so to speak, on macro and micro levels. You keep demonstrating those values in the crossfire of your neighbors and those who oppose you. You don't weaponize your morals or use them to harm, which serves to contradict the very values you say you're fighting for. So we see this when he saves soldiers, he saves Japanese soldiers who conveniently didn't make it when he put them back, or, lowered them down. But he refuses to take another life. The only time that I see this, when he bats and kicks the grenades towards the end, not sure if those go back at the soldiers or not. So if he actually, takes life, I don't know. But it's fighting the impulse to kill, just to fight. So that one was kind of in defense, hits the grenades away. But it's also fighting the impulse to take his father's life earlier in the story. So I ask myself again, what do you do when your values are under attack? What do you do when you are faced with opposition that does not care about what you believe? And this is what Glover says too, right? What happens when you face people that don't care what you believe? What code of conduct do you follow? And I think Doss shows you about as balanced an answer as you can get. I want to wait to do because this is kind of like our theme, right?
Yeah.
This shows us what the movie is telling us about Doss and answering this question. So between you guys then, what do you see Doss, how do you see him respond to that question? And then using a scene from the movie to kind of represent that idea.
I noticed anytime someone questioned him or any of that, he always remained calm. And it seemed like almost every time he almost smirked when it was brought up. Like even when, a lot when he was being evaluated by the doctor, questioning his sanity. And he's like, I know you're trying to, make me come off as crazy, but, and he would just, he always had sound reasoning, in my opinion. And he always remained calm, and I felt like he wasn't preachy about it either. It was just kind of like, well, this is this is who I am type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of,
So stick to your guns.
yeah.
Ironically, stick to your guns.
Good one, Tiffy.
Yeah.
Or I had another example of like when he changed his mind and decided to plead not guilty in court, where he was almost going to give in, but you could see him like struggling and he couldn't do it. So he decided to plead not guilty to actually go ahead with proceedings, and because he really wanted to help people out by going to war.
So your one scene then would be that conversation between the evaluator.
Yeah. Because you got someone who is trained to pick apart someone's mind. And he's like, he's
Kind of like what you just mentioned not too long ago about questioning someone's faith, and it's like, well, you can't question a faith because that's what makes it faith.
Yeah.
And kind of, I feel like you see that resemblance in that conversation there, where it's like, I ain't crazy. This is just what I believe, and he can't break it down.
And the doctor was like, he's legit.
KMax, what do you think?
Okay, so what I have here, I said, how does he respond when his values are attacked? He stands fast. Or where I said my efforts where I try to hold fast and I fail. So he stands fast, right? And I wish that he was a fictional character.
Yeah,
because he shows me that it's capable. It is possible to hold fast and to see it through, regardless of the costs. His actions remain consistent, and I like what Tiff said. Like, he didn't come off like, how many times do I got to tell you guys? I'm going to show you again. You know what I mean? Like, just like he would just like with love. That's why I say he did the things that I try to do and fail. He, with grace, he shows grace with that little smile,
and there, like you said, there was no like, see, I told you guys.
Well,
you just need a little faith, guys.
Well,
There was none of that.
That's what makes it so beautiful and so authentic to me, and that's what hats off to the filmmakers, because they didn't have to convey it that way, right? But they show you his quality by showing you those little idiosyncrasies, his little smile. Like, I'm going to show you love. I know I'm your enemy. I know I'm making it uncomfortable. I know I'm rocking the boat. I'm going to first show you love in every response. I'm going to smile. I'm going to disarm you. I'm going to make sure you know that I hear what you're saying, and I get that this is not convenient. But for me to show you and demonstrate the ideals that I'm trying to show you, that I'm trying to live out, my response to you must be respectful and must be given in a way that, and it's funny because you see him doing that. I have here, his actions remain consistent and his values do not waver. So like the messaging of what he's trying to get across, it doesn't have a chance if he's inconsistent, if his actions are inconsistent, if his values waver. They would have thrown it out and said, get your butt in there and pick up that rifle. You know what I mean? Even like his commanding officer, like Vince Vaughn, and they wouldn't have, I mean, they tried to stop it, but they wouldn't have even ultimately, maybe they would have rejected even after he said it and whatever. They'd be like, still don't think you're sold. You know what I mean? But I think the way he handled it made it so that, and so I won't give my scene yet. Did you want us to like tie it in with like a theme statement? Because I could do that best I could. Or
I want you to do both.
Oh, really? I will do both.
Hold on, someone's mic. Is it
me?
It might be your mic squeaking.
Oh, I think it's me.
Okay. Yep, you're good now.
It was on my tummy. There's a rumbly in my tummy. Yeah. So like having just a statement being, Dare to have the courage of your convictions. Dare to stand with courage to live out your convictions, right? In the scene of the one more, like I'm going to embody what I've said this entire film. I'm going to embody it. And when the stakes are the highest, I'm going to have the courage to live my convictions. Otherwise, is it even real? You know what I mean? Otherwise, is it authentic? Otherwise, you're just blowing hot air. But when the rubber meets the road, dare to have the courage to live out your convictions. Dare it. Give it a shot. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be a cost. And so I think that kind of a theme in that scene is him showing them, and maybe that's the only thing that would have ever not converted them, but ever got them to see who he was, the reflection of who he really was, is when he actually did those things, and they saw. It rots that people have to see such things to be convinced, or to say that, oh, he is authentic, or he really did believe those things. But if he didn't dare to be consistent, if he didn't dare to live them out and say, here it is, this is my moment. We kind of are critical of people who have a grandiose moment to make up for so much inconsistency. Remember when we had fathers, bad fathers and bad moms? They try this grandiose thing to redeem themselves. Mm-hmm. Well, his grandiose thing was not to redeem it, because he'd been consistent all throughout the whole thing. And to me, that moment meant more, because it just all it did was highlight a message that he's been consistently putting out the whole movie. You know. By the way, I don't hate that he's a real person. I love that he's a real person. That's all I got there.
So going to that scene where he goes where he gets called to go find that person when he hears that yelling for help, that piggybacks off of the court scene, because the judge goes, you can walk into the fires of hell with nothing to protect you. Mm-hmm. And as he's going to help, those explosions are going off. Mm-hmm. So he is literally going in to the firestorm, the explosions, to do what he set out to do.
Well, that's cool.
I like that.
It's good right here. So Tiffy bringing the heat.
Should bring the hellfire.
Trent Krim, bringing the heat.
So I put, you participate in defending your values within the parameters your values allow.
Hey.
And the scene that I'm going to bring up is the product of that mindset, not so much demonstrating it. So what happens when you do that? You see this dedication that Doss has inspire his fellow soldiers. They follow his example. They wait for his prayer. They borderline disobey a commanding officer's order to attack, right? They wait for Doss to finish the prayer and join them before they go up. And so that, because that was on the Sabbath, right? That he did that. Mm-hmm. And then they risk their lives retrieving Doss's Bible. That last bit, powerful symbolic gesture of finding meaning in what they're fighting for. All these scenes hit me hard. How these soldiers would return their gratitude and respect to Doss, whether they follow the Bible or not, to the point of risking their lives to retrieve Doss's Bible. So that's returning their respect for Doss. Not in killing more, not killing in the name of, avenging so-and-so, or don't worry, Doss, I'll protect you by killing these 20 people. It's returning that respect by saving him and his source of values, demonstrating his values right back to him. And I'm going to bring up his dad again, too.
Excuse me. So
General Doss, or whatever, was he a general?
Corporal.
Corporal. defends his son's decision to participate in the war in the capacity he does because he has seen the strength of those values firsthand that we find out. So this turns the original question into another nonverbal one. What do you do when your neighbor's values are under attack? By the end of the movie, we see mutual respect and the impact of goodness in the face of conflict. Coexisting with your neighbor with support, whether you have the same values or not. I'm going to reference one more scene that, for me, puts a stamp on the answer. It's when Doss, it's before they go into like the real life, here's Desmond and, others. It's during the story, or I don't know how you want to separate that. Before the credits, before it goes to, the text on the screen that says what happened to all these characters or these people. So Doss is suspended in midair in the final shot of the movie. He is exactly between the battlefield and camp, between war and home, symbolically ending in a balance of both defending and fighting for his values.
Going off how he earned so much respect, the scene where the Japanese soldier is about to sneak up on Smitty and he jumps at him, and you just see the look, the whole Smitty's, you can see it in his face that he's already kind of changed his opinion on him.
Right.
And pretty much, I don't know if you guys noticed, but from that moment on, there was, until Smitty's death, there's hardly a scene where he's not with Doss now. It was like from that, he was told that Doss wasn't going to have his back. But look what happened. And so from that moment on, it just seemed like he had Doss's back. He went from not wanting him there to protecting him.
That's
to,
awesome.
Giving his life and
demonstrating his values right back to him. Didn't, like you said, didn't have to. I mean, he did kill other soldiers, but that wasn't part of having his back.
Yeah, it was almost like their little dynamic turned into the coexistence. Like Smitty knew, war, people die. He was a soldier, but he, just let Doss. He had Doss's back after that. Going to save soldiers, he just kept an eye out on him.
KMax, any other thoughts on that?
Nothing. That's mark it down, mark the time down, mark the episode. KMax had nothing to say.
So we'll do a little wrap up then for this episode. So ultimately, I chose this movie as our final movie this season because it's also about respect. When it comes to the importance of human interaction, respect is where it starts. Respect for what you truly believe in, respect for your neighbor and what they believe in, respect for what your friends and family need of you, and respect for the weight of your actions or inactions, for what those have on others. So I picked a couple notes here about, the season wrap up will be next episode. But I wanted to bring up some things. I think I mentioned in a few episodes that I get a little suspicious about movies that portray real things. So I think I've mentioned this about war movies specifically, where I don't know if I'm being herded a certain way. How do I know what I see on screen is true? Is this propaganda? Are you trying to make me think a certain way? So I wanted to challenge myself with this movie because I knew that it was based on someone real and how I would react to it. And I think, for me personally, I feel like the faith part of it has a lot to do with it. And I think the end after we see Doss suspended in air, it kind of goes into, okay, they did this afterwards, they lived this long. Here's Doss being interviewed from, what was it, 2003 or something like that? I can't remember. So it showed the actual people. And then if the thing that you sent me with the actual, like, oh, what you saw on screen was even the
like
most
how
unbelievable.
The rope ladder, he was the one that free climbed up there and hung the rope ladder that all the soldiers took up. Yeah.
Man.
So I think that's why in the movie they showed him climbing the mountains all the time because, or you're part mountain goat, like.
So it was like, even that little bit right there, it was kind of like, oh, that movie even held back on what they could have put in this story. And they chose to dial it back. So,
Because it wasn't even just one guy that went looking for the Bible.
It was a whole
the
squad,
whole,
right?
yeah, it was like 40 men out there looking for his Bible, apparently.
And then, I brought up the idea of infringement on coexistence. I thought the shadow is the perfect segue into this movie because that, the yin and yang, right? Coexistence, working together, finding balance. You mentioned even earlier tonight, KMax, with the idea of black and white and, with me or against me. So I thought this movie also had a lot to deal with that, where not even just the war between the two sides, but boot camp of, well, Doss believes this, so he's not one of us. We need to get rid of him. He doesn't belong here. There's no way we can work with that, to finding balance there and actually being a very important balance in taking Hacksaw Ridge. And then a callback still, KMax, from our first few episodes, or it's just me and you. And we talked about Ralph. We talked about grief. And you had this phrase, leaning into the conflict. And I think that's important here, too, because, personally, when I answer the question, what do I do when my values are under attack? Well, to what level have my values actually been under attack? I've never had to say, well, someone's trying to bomb my house because of what I believe in or what they believe in. So I've never had to deal with that. But the way that Desmond deals with it is he could have said, well, I'm going to demonstrate my values by preaching here or by raising a family with my values and carrying on at home and not joining the war. But he leans into the conflict to come out the other side with a better, like I said, generations of people allowing to live because of him. So just that idea. I want to hear your take on that of leaning into the conflict.
Well, it's easy to sit in a church pew and say you have these values and stay there, right? He could have done that. Like you said, he could have taken a comfortable route, but I think it's important to identify, too, that he felt called and convicted to serve in the military. It was a real thing that he felt like he had to do. And I'm trying to think of the scene. It's been a while since I've seen it. That almost made me think that why have these values if they're never going to be tested? I can't remember the scene, though, so it makes me wonder if it was in this movie or in another one. Which could be.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Why have these values if I can't demonstrate it, right? So it's almost like I'm just a big giant hypocrite, just saying stuff to say stuff to feel better about myself. Unless people can see that faith in action, what is it worth? Does it have value? It probably has some value, but does it have more value when you put it into action? When it's at its most tested moment? Mm-hmm. Where else is a pacifist more tested than on a battlefield? What's more vulnerable than a peach? You know what I mean? So he gets to show it right there.
Huge point right there, because micro and macro, right? Mm-hmm. I could live my life day to day, trying to make the best decisions I can on a daily basis, and maybe, hopefully, my kids see that and try to do the same. But then on a bigger level, you see values tested. So not just lived, but tested and persevering through it. And you can see, at least on screen, hundreds of men, not converted, but acknowledging that example that Doss lives by. So you see the difference between living those values and having those values tested. And I think if you're wanting to share with people your way of living, your thoughts, your beliefs, your values, your culture, I mean, it's going to be a blessing then if they're tested like that. Because you can show people, this is how strong, this is what they do for me. And maybe they might be able to do that for you too. And it's not about conversion. It's not about converting anybody to what you believe. I mean, that's what we have this whole war about, see things my way. But it's how I worded it before, right? Of participate in defending your values within the parameters your values allow. So lead by example and not resorting to actual conflict when your values are under attack. So I think that's super important, though, that values, they almost have to be tested if they're worth anything. Right?
Otherwise it's just words.
Mm-hmm. And again, that doesn't have to be a religious or faith-based perception of that idea either. That could be anything. That could be, like I said, just values, beliefs.
Even your humanity. You know what I mean? Like this is a humane idea that I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, and I'm gonna go volunteer at a no-kill shelter or something. You know what I mean? It's like a humanity. If you want to show me what a...
Well, especially today, too, when there's so many topics out there that are hot buttons to be pushed that are going to spark so much rage and emotion and conflict, saying, oh, I don't believe that. And then someone attacking you because of that. You get people that don't get their values tested enough, it feels like, because they I don't know, they don't see it as an opportunity to demonstrate, well, no, it's okay that I believe this. And here, like Tiffy, your example of someone coming up to you at the counter and spewing something, you're like, okay, $2.50.
Yeah. Like, they really needed to get it off their chest, apparently. Okay.
And so living that way, people seeing that example might influence them down the road. Who knows? And I think that's super important, though. That values, they kind of have to be tested if they're worth anything.
Mm-hmm. This was fun. It was It was heavier than I thought it was going to be, but it also was more doable. It might be late, but thanks, Tiff. It was helpful having you here. It was fun. And it was helpful. It was insightful. It kind of helped me also because I think I sometimes I feel like the role that I play in the pod sometimes it's like I feel like I try to dig a bit and I'm not afraid to say like kind of like heavier things like, and then to have Tiff come alongside and right out the barrel, not be afraid, but to lean into it, right? Lean into it a little bit. There's some hard things. And it's from, as a listener, with one good ear, it's appreciated. It is. Rather than to, because it's easier to say, give like a quick, shallow answer to something that you're not comfortable with. And it's perfectly acceptable. Believe me, I've done it before on a lot of things on this show. But to come right out of the chute and just jump right in. This is the deep end of the water. This conversation. We've had some light ones.
Had some light ones recently, but remember we started off the pod with a couple of heavy topics there. Mm-hmm. Heavy movies also.
Oh, sure. Heavy hosts.
Tiffy, you saw Midsummer. We saw Midsummer together. And
yep, you've taken me to all these weird movies. I'm too shallow for those movies.
I think you asked me to those movies.
I'm like, I don't get these at all. Why is that baby peeing everywhere? Like,
I don't know what that means, but I love it.
I'm like, she's not talking about me.
I'm like, I'm squiggling here. I gotta pee, but I don't think I'd let anything loose. It's been a blast.
Tiffy, you say you watched this movie several times. Any new perceptions or ideas after this conversation here?
Actually, like a lot of these observations I had came from some of your questions, like trying to examine it deeper, like, how I noticed all the explosions, and after the judge said, you're going to run into the fires of hell, and how his mom said, he doesn't hate you. He hates himself sometimes. And, and so him trying to defend him was him showing love in the only way he could at that point. He was so damaged, but he still tried to do what he could for his son. And not even just his son, like it was almost like he was defending a citizen. Like, I fought for these rights. And so it's like, I didn't notice those connections or, him, the whole cornstalk thing, like, just talking about how weak he is and how weak he is. But yet he's carrying grown men. And what else was that I noticed more?
You know what hit surprisingly hard was when Tom Doss came into the courtroom, handed the letter, and you kind of saw it prefaced a little bit. When he's like, can you give the letter in there? And she's like, no, only military personnel. So, okay, we'll have them bring it in there. And she's like, they ain't going to help him. And it's kind of like he has to try and fight for his son in different ways, and it's the look that hit hard. After he gives the letter, you see him turn around and kind of like half look at his son and not even like look in the eyes. It's just kind of like, glancing over his shoulder and keep walking, like not being familiar or comfortable helping his son do something that's not in his own value set, I guess.
And I also noticed after he almost, kills his brother, he's looking at the 10 Commandments on the wall. So I almost started to question, like, is his firm belief out of guilt or being traumatized?
Super interesting. I got a little bit of vibe of that too. Like,
because he almost did this, did it just traumatize him into being a better person? Because it's almost like that he's the only one so firm in his beliefs, like not even his dad or brother. Like, his brother went to war and he's not approaching it the same way he is. And his dad killed people too. So it's like, did him almost killing his brother completely shape his beliefs as he grew up?
That's a pretty interesting perception right there.
It is. I almost... It lends itself to a conversation that Freud would probably enjoy. Like a psychoanalyst would probably look and say, well, to some extent, most belief systems are people, needing to believe something for some reason, for some trauma, for some, you know what I mean? Again, this is me I don't want to say devil's advocate, but this is just me talking. Someone that didn't have the perspective that I have and the belief system that I have might say, yeah, that's what I've been talking about. Of course he's affected by that trauma. He needs this faith to be more authentic, and he needs to live it more authentically because he needs to have this crutch. He needs to believe this. He needs to put all his... because he has this trauma that needs to be met. I think there'd be an argument for that. Mm-hmm. And so I love that point that you brought up. I like exploring other people's perspectives. And if that was the case, if that was thrown in there for that, I like that that's a Easter egg for someone if they wanted to see that. Because I think it could be. Like, you look at that scene, and I'm remembering it now, and you might see, they might have thrown that in there to, maybe the filmmaker put it in there, because does the filmmaker know the absolute heart of this young man?
Yeah.
So maybe the filmmaker put it in there to say, this could be him unpacking some stuff. Mm-hmm. Because I think about my own life. It's like, I try to examine it best I can, and I try to think that things come from a pretty good, wholesome place. Maybe there's some stuff that I'm dealing with. I'm not afraid to admit that. You know what I mean? There might be some stuff that maybe I am certain ways because there is something that I'm trying to make up for, or, you know what I mean, or trying to not certainly earn certain things, but I want to maybe get the approval of someone for, I don't know. And so I think it's a fair question, especially when you're talking about film. Right? It's fair when you're talking about life too. I got news.
When it comes to the importance of human interaction, I found it pretty fitting that the movie starts off with it's Doss being carried out, and that is Mel Gibson, right? The one soldier.
I thought so.
I didn't notice, but now I'll probably.
He's looking at the camera, and he's like, "We're gonna get you out of here," or something along those lines. To me, that's fitting for my own agenda here for the season, because it's kind of like people. We're going to get you out of here. We're going to save you. It's us people. It's us, your neighbors. It's us, your fellow man. That's going to help you out and get you out of the trouble that you're in. And so we had episodes on grief and isolation, and the idea there was the importance of the people around you that are going to be able to help you up out of all of that. So I thought that pretty fitting.
But now that you say that, it's like the fact that they chose that to start with, including him, like, we are going to save you, where when you find out what he went through to become accepted, it's, crazy. It's remarkable how much he won over all of them by just sticking to his beliefs.
All right. Well, Tiffy, how was your first? How did you think your first episode went here? First of many, hopefully.
I think it went good.
I'm going to cut all of your parts.
She was useless.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
KMax, any jingle witties to end the night?
Man, I loved it. I loved it. Hey, with the things that you're probably going to remind folks about throwing a film out there and suggesting a film for us to break down. I think it's important to say, even though, I don't stay on top of this because life happens, one of the best ways you can get a hold of us is, I know folks have looked, one of the ways is to go on Instagram, That's Perception Movie Podcast, Instagram, direct message there, or even comment on any of the posts that we have there. None of them are current, but I'll try to update that a little bit more.
School will be out in a couple weeks.
Right, I know, and then the hope will be there to fire that baby back up. But we want to know what, if you would like for us to view a movie and give you our perspectives and our perception on those movies, or have Mr. Vozly come up with some critical analysis, not for the film itself, but like to get us thinking and you want to join the conversation. Some of you folks are little voyeurs, aren't you? You like to listen to the conversation. You don't want to join it. You just want to listen to the conversation and see where it goes and see us explore and see us get confused and see me feel like a blockhead and see me how long can he last before he goes to the bathroom. Those things like that. You get to play along here and suggest a film. And I know that there's several listeners in the down by the lake that are chomping at the bit to get their films out there and for consideration. So do that.
All right.
Jump on Depth Reception Movie Podcast on Instagram. Comment one of your movies or send a direct message. Or probably YouTube you can comment also.
You can.
Yeah.
So, yeah, our next episode will be picking a random movie from these suggestions, and we'll watch it and go from there. Tiff, any jingle witties to end the episode?
No.
That was
underwhelming. For such an overwhelmingly wonderful performance.
It is way past my bedtime.
Oh, that's true. That was the equivalent to the last shot out of a 5-shot Roman candle. Foom.